Hello student, today we are going to study NCERT Class 10th History, Chapter 1, The Rise of Nationalism in Europe. In the first segment of the video, we have discussed about in the Europe how the nationalism started, because in the different parts of the Europe the people wants their nationalism because they do not want to be in the monarchical country, or you can say they want their own government or the democratic government, because from the number of the years, or you can say because of the old regime, the people are in the, you can say, in the you can say the monarchical government rather than the democratic government. Now in their country they want their democratic government, so they used to fight with the different people at the different period over the period of time, from the starts with the late 18th century, and in the you can say the beginning of the 19th century, till the, you can say, the end of the 20th century, because of the number of the people over a period of time they used to came, they used to make changes in their country, and what changes they want to see in their country. So number of the things they used to make the changes. In the previous segment we have discussed about the different years, how it started, how it's ended. If we talk about the Napoleon Bonaparte, he used to come from the France to the different parts of the Europe because he wants to conquer the different parts of the Europe, but later he used to defeat it in the number of the wars. If you remember that we saw the one picture over there where they used to show in that painting, they used to show Napoleon as the postman, where he used to take all the letters from the his back towards the on the land. That means the refer is that the Napoleon used to defeat a number of the wars in the from the different parts of the Europe. So he is not able to. You can say he is not able to conquer the number of the parts uh, number of the parts of the Europe, and he used to go to defeat it over there. So the later we come to know that the earlier, if we talk about the Germany, if we talk about the Italy, earlier they were not united. It was divided into different kingdoms, and the most of the people used to speak in the German, in the Italy, and the different of the languages. So people thought that how we come over there, and how do we make this country as the united, or the, you can say, the political unity. So we can see that there is such a vast difference over there. So in this case, the difference is not only to promote a sense of political unity. The only tie binding this diverse group together was the common allegiance to the empire. The aristocracy of the new middle class. Now here the aristocracy, in this chapter, what the points we have to cover starts from this, the aristocracy and the new middle classes, because the most of the middle class, they are the educated, and they have the idea that we want the democracy, and we want our own government, and we want our own representative, and they want to make their constitution of the country. Then what did the liberal nationalism stands for? What is the liberal nationalism stands for? That we're going to come further over there. And the new conservatism after the 1815. So all these will points we're going to cover in this segment. Socially and the politically, a landed aristocracy was the dominant class as on the continent. The dominant class, in the sense, those who are in the majority, they want to dominate towards to the minority. So the members of this class were united by a common way of life that cut across the regional division. They owned the estate in the countryside and also the town houses. They spoke French, they spoke the German, they spoke the Italian. So the purpose of the diplomacy and this high society, their families were often connected by the ties of marriage. Yes, like they used to connect it with when they used to did the marriage, then they often used to connect it. The powerful aristocracy was, however, numerically a small group. The majority of the population was made up of the peasantry. The number of the people used to belong from the peasantry. To the west, the bulk of the land was farmed by the tenants and the small owners. So we're talking about the tenants are the people who have owned the small land on which they used to do the different kinds of work. You can say the farming, you can say the animals rearing. So all this work they used to do over there. Then the wheels in the eastern and the central Europe, pattern of the landholding was changed by the vast estate which were cultivated by the serfs. Now in this page, in the western and the parts of the central Europe, the growth of the industrial production Trade meant the growth of the towns. Now, what the Central European people thought that the growth of industrial production in the next chapter, you will come to know about the industrialization in Europe, which is started in the 18th century. So, the Central European people thought that if they used to come with the machine or the you can the industrial production, trade meant to the growth of towns. Yes, they thought that it will the town become the developed town by introducing the industry or by introducing the machine in their towns, and the emergence of the commercial classes whose existence was based on the production for the market. So they used to do the production on the basis of the market what the peoples were demanded. So they used to manufacture the particular goods and they used to sell it to the people. Industry began in the England the second half of the 18th century, but in the France, the part of the German studies occurred only during the 19th century. In this way, new social group came into the being a working class population and the middle class made up of industrial businessmen, professional. The Central and the Eastern Europe, the group was smaller in number till the 19th century. It was among the educated, liberal middle class that the idea of the national unity following the abolition of aristocratic privileges gained the popularity. Now here what the thing is that the middle class people who have the national unity, well, because they wanted their nation to be united. So the aristocratic privileges gain the popularity because their idea is good. The idea is not bad because they are thinking about the nation. They want their nation to be united. So this people, the middle class people, used to emerge as the liberal, and they have given the certain privileges that yes, they have the right or they have the idea to make the country as the united. Now come to the next topic of this chapter, that is what did the liberal nationalism stands for. So what it stands for? Idea of national unity in the early 19th century, Europe was close allied to the ideology of the liberalism. The term liberalism derives from the Latin root liber, that is, it used to come from Latin, the liber, meaning free. For the new middle class, liberalism stood for freedom. Yes, for the new liberalism, liberalism is for the freedom for the individual and equality for the all the before the law. So what the this middle class people thought that first is the important thing they want to see in the nation is the equality, and all the people irrespective of what the status they have, but whatever, like if we talk about the gender, the male or female, all should be the equal before the law, whether it is rich or poor or middle class, all should be equal before the law. So these are kind of changes they want to see in their country. So the political, it emphasized the concept of the government by the consent. Since the French Revolution, liberalism has stood for the end of the autocracy. Autocracy in sense, now there are not any kind of the royal people or the king or whosoever the dictator, they do not have to right to own our country because now we become as the republic. So the liberalism stood for the end of the autocracy and the clerical privileges. A constitutional representative government through the parliament. 19th century liberals also stressed the inviolability of the private property. Now, in the if you recall, when the Napoleon Bonaparte has came into the France, he started that the people have to look after their own property. They are the master. You can say they are the owner of their own property. None of the people have a right to take their own property. The people who used to own the property, or you can say the private property, they have the right to look after that. None of the people have the right to take or to capture that particular property. So these are the changes we have seen in the 19th century. Yet equality before the law did not necessarily stand for the universal suffrage, means the right to vote. Because over a period of time, if you take the example of different countries, earlier the people, those who are rich and those who are educated, they have the right to give the vote. Over the period of time, the people did the protest, the reform, the revolution. They want the right to give the vote. So then they started the only the man can give the vote. Then later on we come to know, if you recall the class 9, which we have read, the woman also did the revolution that they can participate in the to cast their vote and to get the job and to get the equal status just like the man and to get the equal wages. They have fought for last 200 years. Think about it. I'm not talking about that till the last 200, till today we are fighting for that we get the equal rights, because most of the countries didn't get the equal rights. If we talk about the you can say the Muslims country or the Mohammedan countries, or if you can say the Gulf countries, and till today the number of the countries They're not providing equal wages just like the man. So still today the number of the reforms are going on. You will recall then the Revolution in France, which marked the first political experiment in the liberal democracy. Yes, which I already said. In the Europe, you talk about the first country is the France. We started for the like one said the nationalism and the democracy. The right to vote and get elected was granted exclusively to the property owning man. Men without the property and all the women are excluded from the political rights. Only for a brief period under the jurisdiction, under the Jacobians, did all the adult males enjoy the suffrage, which I already explained earlier. The only the men enjoys all the powers rather than the female. But we have saw in the French Revolution that both male and female participated in the revolution. So why all the privileges, all the powers are given to the men, not to the women? So these are the kind of disparity which we have seen in this chapter, that we have to give the equal rights, whether it's male or female, and all the persons should be equal before the law. Because when the woman started the revolution, they mentioned that when all the punishment, the harsh punishment you just give to the men, why you are not giving to the woman? Because if there's any of the woman did or do if they used to commit any kind of crime, so all the punishment should equally given to the man as well as the woman. So what they want is the equality. That doesn't mean that all the privileges you're giving to the man rather than the woman. However, the Napoleon Code went back to the limited suffrage and reduced the woman to status of the minor. Now the majority are the man and the minority are the woman, subject to the authority of the fathers and the husbands. Throughout the 19th and the early 20th century, women and the non-proprietary man organized the opposition movement demanding the equal political rights. Now, the equal political rights means the male should get the equal political rights and the female should also get the equal political right. In the economic sphere, the liberalism stood for the freedom of the marks and the abolition of state-imposed restriction on the movement of goods and capitals. Now, here what the liberalism is. Now, whatever the things used to come from any other part of the, you can say the country or the state, they used to restrict over there, because what they thought that if you meet the particular thing from your country, it's going to be boom in your country. So they restrict the certain, you can say the goods and the other objects to come in their country. So what they want is the liberalism, you can say the freedom, that you allowed to do the export and import to the different parts of the country. During the 19th century, this was strong demand of the emerging middle class. So this was the strongest demand which was made by the middle class of the Europe. Let us take the example of the German-speaking region. In the first half of the 19th century means it starts from that is the 1851 till there. If they talk about the half, such the Napoleon administrative measure had created out of countless small principalities or confederation of the 39 states. Each of these possess its own currency. They used to possess their own currency and weight and the measure. A merchant traveling in 1833 from the Hamburg and the Nuremberg to sell his goods would have had to pass through 11 custom barriers and pay a custom duty of about 5% of each of them. Duties was often levied according to the weight of the measurement of the goods, as each region had its own system of weight and measure, because each country or each town, you can say, they have own system of weighing or you can measuring the goods, as each region had its own system of weighing and measuring that involved the time consuming calculation. Now it used to like, because earlier they are not having the, you can say, the digital weighting machine or the measurement. Earlier the people used to do, you can, the physical work. They used to, maybe they used to use the stone, maybe they use the water, maybe they use the, you can say, the other things, because earlier we are not having the exact weighted you can say the digital, the weighted, you can say the watt, or you can say the digital weighing machine. The measure of the clothes, for example, was the L. L means, this is a French word, L means she, which the each region should for the different length. And L, the textile material bought in the Frankfurt would get you 54.7 centimeter of cloth. In Mainz, 55.1 centimeter. In Nuremberg, it's 65.6 centimeter. In the Freiburg, that is the 53.5 centimeter. This is the centimeter of the close, such country was viewed as the obstacle because now you can see each and every country is having their own different centimeter. Like someone is having 54, someone is having the 55, someone is having the 65, and the Fairburg having the 53. The older country, you can say the centimeter or you can say the measurement having the different measurement rather than the exact measurement. So such a country was revised as the obstacle economic exchange and the growth by the new commercial classes who argued for the creation of unified economic territory allowing the unhindered movement of goods, people and capital. In 1834, a custom union or Zollverein was formed at the initiative of Persia and joined by the most of the German states. The union abolished the tariff barriers and reduced the number of currencies from over 32 32 32 to 32, and that was again that is a 2, that doesn't mean the 32. The union abolished, the union abolished the tariff is the tax, and reduced the number of currency from over 32 to the creation of the network of railway further stimulated the mobility, harassing the economic interest to the national unification. A wave of economic nationalism strengthened the wider nationalism sentiment growing at that time. Now I come towards the next one. This is a new conservatism after 1815. Like conservatism means the people having the like certain kind of mindset where they used to follow the old regime or you can say the old tradition or you can say the old beliefs rather than like if we say that now the time is changing, we have to follow and we have to accept the new ideas rather than the old regime. So in this case now they used to come up with the new conservative ideas. Following the defeat of Napoleon in 1815, the European government was driven by the spirit of conservatism, of political philosophy, and the stress the importance of the traditional, which I already have explained, that they want to follow their tradition, their old village, their old regime, establish the institution and the custom, and preferred gradual development to the quick change. Like because following the old regime or the old beliefs or the old customs, they want to see the quick change in their country. Conservative believe the established traditional institutions of state and society like the monarchy, the church, the social hierarchies, property and the family should be preserved. Now they want to set up more and more churches. They want to see the social hierarchies, property and family should be preserved. Most of conservative, however, did not propose a return to the society for the pre-revolutionary days rather than realized from the change initiated by the Napoleon. Now the change which is initiated by the Napoleon, the modernization could be in fact because he used to follow most of the modern techniques because the world is changes, so we have to follow the technology, we have to take the scientific you can say the discovery and invention by which we can develop our country more and more to the advanced level rather than we can say the back level. So these are the things which we have to include in this that we have to follow the scientific method, we have to follow or we have to take the inventions of the scientists which can make us which can help our country to take our country to the developed level or to the developed nation. From the changes initiated by the Napoleon, the modernization could be in fact strengthen the traditional institution like the monarchy. So in the modernization could be in fact strengthened. If we take the modern techniques, so if you are the monarchical country, so in the case of the Europe, so it strengthened means the particular kingdom become the powerful by adopting or by you can say by taking the modern techniques. It could make the state power more effective and strong. A modern army, an efficient bureaucracy, a dynamic economy, the abolition of feudalism, and the freedom could strengthen the autocratic monarchies of the Europe. In 1815, representative Europe power, Britain, Russia, Persia, Australia, would have collectively defeated the Napoleon. These are the country who defeated the Napoleon in 1815 met at the Vienna to draw up the settlement for the euro. Now they met in the Vienna to make the settlement. The Congress was hosted by the Austrian Chancellor Duke Metternich. The delegates drew up with the Treaty of Vienna, which we have discussed in this, the Treaty of Vienna, that is in 1815, with the object of undoing the most of the changes to had come about in the Europe during the Napoleon. Now, what kind of change when the Napoleon used to come over there? He used to fought many wars and he makes a number of the changes. So they are accepting some of the changes at the time of the Napoleon. The Bourbon dynasty, which had been disposed during the French Revolution, that is the Louis XVI, was restored the power. Now they restore the power, and the France lost the territories it has annexed under the Napoleon. Now the France lost the territory which was had annexed under the Napoleon. Then a series of states was set up in the boundaries of France to prevent the French expansion into Europe because they prevent like how early the French used to conquer the number of the state or you can say the nearby the state nearby the state or you can say the nearby the France they used to conquer that particular place but by this treaty now the France has not a right to conquer nearby the state or you can say the nearby the places by the French. Earlier it was freely come over there to fought the war and they used to capture it. But because of this treaty, now the French used to remain his own territory rather than to capture the other territories. Thus, the kingdom of Lebanon, which include the Belgium, was set up the north, and the Genoa was added to the Piedmont in the south. Persia was given the important new territories in the western frontier, while the Austria was given the control of the North Italy. But the German Confederation of 39 states that had been set up in the Napoleon was left untouched. In the east, Russia was given the part of Poland, while the Persia was given the portion of the Saxony. The main intention was to restore the monarchies that had been overthrown by the Napoleon. Because earlier, which we have already discussed, that earlier in the Europe, the number of the countries now, right now we're seeing as the United, it was divided the number of the kingdoms because the Napoleon is defeated in the number of the wars. So the by this Vienna Treaty, the number of the countries, or you can say the number of the states and the number of the kingdoms, they want their old system or the traditional system, that is the monarchical system, in their own territory. So whatever the kingdom which is overthrown by the Napoleon, it was stopped over there because of their strategy, the Treaty of Vienna, that is in 1815, and they created a new conservative order in the Europe. Now the people are still again following the traditional belief, their old regime, because they do not want to accept the new or the modernized idea. Conservatism set up in 1815 was the autocratic. They did not tolerate the criticism and dissent. Now they are not tolerating the criticism, those who speak the bad words or the dissent, and sought to curb the activities and question the legitimacy of the autocracy government. Now here, whatever the policy, what are the plans or what are the schemes or what are the initiative taken by the government, they have to come in front of the public and they should be the accountable, but here they are not doing that. Now they what they're doing, the legitimacy, where most of them impose the censorship of the laws to control what was said in the newspaper, book, plays and songs to reflect the idea of liberty and freedom. Now what they do is that censorship. Now they're not coming as the front of the people, you can say they have to tell you each and everything whatever plans or you can say the initiative is taken by the government, they have to explain in front of the public, but now they make the censorship. Now you can see over there the club of thinkers envious this figure which is painted by the people. They show the how the people are using their traditional belief and they used to follow their old regime and the old custom. In that, the club of thinkers anonymous caricature dating to 1820. The plaque on the left of the beer is the inscription. The most important question of the today's meeting: how long will thinking be allowed to us? Then the board on the right side lists the rules of the club, which include the following. Silence is the first command to the learn the social. Now, what are the like? If you are seated in a particular room for the meeting, so in that room, can you? Is this possible? You have to remain the silent. So, for why is the need of the all you people come together and you said we are coming here for the discussion? So there is no need of discussion. You can come over in the room and you have to sit silence. Then the second, the beerus rule, to avoid the eventually whereby the member of this club may succumb to the temptation of speech, muzzle, will is disturbed to the member of entering. Now they, what they said that only the people who have give the pass, they can come over there rather than the other people. All the people have to remain the silence. So this is the wizarded thing, like they want to just only follow their traditional beliefs, their traditional customs, and their traditional thinking. Then associated French Revolution. The memory of the French Revolution, nothing less than continue to inspire the regrets. Because of the French Revolution, number of the, or you can say the number of the parts of the, no, not a number of the parts, you can say the different parts of the Europe and the different of the countries, they fascinate with the idea of the liberals, the liberty, the equality, the freedom of speech and the expression because they are following the natural rules rather than you can say they are imposing their rules which is made by the people. On the major issues taken up by the liberal nations who criticized the new conservative order and was the freedom of the press. Now here what the new things have started. They stopped the conservative order and they want the freedom of press because earlier the you can say the media people, the press people, they used to publish that news only which is which the order is given by the royal people rather than they can freely they can publish any of the news. So in this case they used to criticize the old regime and they want the freedom or the freedom of press that whatever the thing is going to happen in the Europe they want to publish freely rather than in the, you can say in the restricted form. So in so far in this segment what we have discussed about the aristocracy and the new middle class emergence because the middle class are well educated. What they want is that they want their own elected representative, they want their own government and they want the equality because earlier the people are divided on the basis of their language because they don't want the unification, they want just only their own country on the basis of the languages. If we talk about the German, if we talk about the Italian, or if we talk about the French, because of the French when the revolution is started they are fascinated with the liberal ideas, with the equality, with the freedom of speech, or you can say that most of the things which is they included in the constitution, the natural laws rather than the that laws which is imposed in which is made by the people and the forcefully, or you can say they imposed on the people that you can follow the certain rules. When the Napoleon used to come, like doesn't adopted the idea of the democracy and he want to conquer all the parts of the Europe but he used to defeat it in the many parts of the Europe. So the Treaty of Vienna in which 1815 like the people used to come under the you can say the old conservative idea, they want to follow their old tradition, they want to follow their old regime, they want to follow their old beliefs. What they want, they don't want the constitution, they don't want the government, they don't want the democracy. What they want is the monarchical government in which they want to follow their old, you can say, the beliefs, their old customs, their old rule and regulation, which in the treaty, what they have mentioned that whatever the territory earlier is captured by the Napoleon, now the France has to be restricted over their own territory. Now the France do not have the right that he can go any of the territory and it can conquer it. So because of this treaty, he has to remain in his own territory. Then a number of the state was given to the different countries. You can say the Poland, the Persia, the Russia, and they didn't touch the German, which is having the 39 states. Then later on, we come to know that they want to live in their old regime. They don't want to accept the more modern techniques. But later on, they used to facilitate the number of the ideas by the Napoleon. So they used to adopt the number of the changes that take place during the time of the Napoleon. So they make changes in that, and they mentioned in that treaty that yes, we want the certain changes in the different parts of the country which we have given to them. So these are the certain till now we have seen. Then we see that in the middle class, what they want the equality. All the persons should be equal before the law, and they want they want exact measurement of the particular cloth that which we have seen at the different places. The measurement of the cloth in the centimeter is different. Somewhere you find the 55, somewhere you find the 65, somewhere you find the 53, somewhere you find the 54. So they adopted the exact measurement or the exact weighing machine that used to give the exact value in the decimals. Then later on come to know about the this one in the new conservative after the 1815 that number of the changes took place at that time and this time as well, that how what kind of changes they want to see, especially the freedom of press because earlier the press was under the royal people, whatever the order was given by the royal people they used to publish it, but now they want the freedom that whatever the incidents is going to be happen anywhere on this on the Europe, they want to capture it, they want to publish in their newspaper, because in the 18th century, first industrialization started in the Europe, and later on we can see in the next chapter that the industrialization in Europe, how it started, how tech changes, how the people did the numerous reforms, protests, and the revolution to introduce the modern techniques, to introduce the machine, to introduce the different machine at the different parts of the Europe. This all the things we are going to see in the next segment of the video. I hope you like this video. Thank you.